All right, we're back. So I wanted to ask you, Ritu, about so I really enjoyed the part in Marriage Unarranged where they travel to India to actually that it's in the second book where they're getting all the accessories and the
yeah
you're right, it's straight in as a jalebi where they're ordering all the special clothing and accessories, but there's some of that in the first book too. I'm kind of mashing them together, so I apologize, but it was really I really just enjoyed learning about the traditions and ceremonies. And so can you tell us about your own experience? You mentioned that you traveled to do that for your own wedding, and what that was like for it.
well, traveling to India to do shopping it's an experience unlike any other.
Right.
And I tried to recreate as much of what I saw when I went to do my cousin's shopping, as well as my own, in how I wrote certain scenes. So
Mhm.
though the shops are not actually real, the places are. So where the hotel that they stay in, this tiny part of Delhi, which is in the middle of a real shopping district, but it's not like your very posh shopping area
Mhm.
in Karol Bagh, but it's a really real area. So it is hectic, crazy, with tiny little sort of gullies and alleyways filled with little treasure troves, as well as your main road, which has lots of other shops in it. That, going there, being overwhelmed by the choice that you have out there. Everything that I experienced, I wanted to try and put that flavor into what I wrote. You know, down to the things that, simplistic things, like literally how everywhere you go, they know that you're there to shop, they know you're there to spend money, and they want you to spend their money with them. So they know you're the overseas customers, and being wooed almost, with food and drink as soon as you get there, and pulling out 110 outfits, to boggle your mind while you're sitting there. That's the kind of experience that you do have when you go somewhere like that. There's always somebody there, and it's very rarely female, or it wasn't at that time. It was where the male will be standing there ready to wrap a piece of fabric around himself to show you what a sari is going to look like, or a different.
Okay.
Yeah. No, let me just see what it shows you, madam. Let me show you. This is how it's going to look. And you tried that better than I could ever tie it in my life. But those kind of things is so true. And then the tiniest of places that could look like this dingy, dusty little place is filled with such treasure, literally, like,
Beautiful fabrics and
fabric, but even down to the accessories. So little tiny little booths, almost like tobacco booths, but they're not. They're like filled with bindis, or artificial jewelry and things like that. And there really is a market when you go further into a different part of Delhi, which is called the Hanuman Mandir area, and there is the bangle market, and there's just just loads and loads of stalls filled, and they'll ask you, what do you want, and they'll have all these sets of bangles. They'll just break them all up and create bespoke designs, with jeweled bangles and colored bangles, big,
right.
wide, thin, and create something that you want. They're happy to do it. I mean, you just have these bangles scattered everywhere, and then you walk off with what you want, and they're left tidying everything up.
Right.
Then you go further into another area where it's as if you've stepped into, I don't know, almost like Rodeo Drive. All these designer style stores, and very, very high end levels of store, the product. So you go down to the designer route, where you might not get the same sort of level of, let me get you a nimbu bani, let me get you something to eat or something, but there's still a different reverence there. And then interspersed within all of that, you do have little elements which I tried to put into it, of the youngsters trying to be really cool out there, and how different people respond to you as an outsider coming in as well. But the shopping side of it, I mean, it's just unreal. Myself, when I went, I found a magazine an Asian bridal magazine, and I was looking through there and I never wanted to be that traditional bride in that I didn't want to wear red, because red wasn't really my color. I didn't like red. And so people had started to wear others, you had people with their fuchsias and their burnt oranges and things like that, but I decided to go for like a peachy kind of color in the end. In fact, very, very much like this kind of sort of color that I wore. But I found this picture, and it was a beautiful, it was a dress. It was still, it was almost like having one of the two-piece outfits, the skirt and thing, but it was sewn together, because I've heard horror stories of brides, and they get these outfits made, and like the skirt is so heavy.
Yeah
that I know my cousins, when they've got married, they've had to have sort of like built-in braces, suspenders in their belts to keep them up.
And you mentioned something like that in your book. Yeah.
And there was there has been, whether they become like urban legends or whether they're real, but this story that goes around about a girl who, as she was doing the circumambulations around the holy book, that her skirt fell because it was so heavy and she didn't have it held up. And the whole of the boys' side, apparently, this is very apparent, I'm not saying this happened, I'm not seeing it, but it's one of those stories that the whole boys' side got up and left the wedding and left her. I mean, so you've got these things people say, oh, do you know this? Do you hear about this? So I don't want that to happen. So I saw this, there was like a dress, but it's like the two parts, they've been sewn together. And it wasn't full of gold, because I'm not about the bling. I like subtle. I think I'm very much like my mum like that. So I don't want something in your face. I wanted it to be comfortable, but I wanted it to be stunning as well. Sure. And this is exactly what this outfit's in. And that one that was in the book was like a gold kind of color. So I said to the guy, look, we went into this one shop, and they became our base, I think, in Delhi, this particular shop that we were in. And they very much did the same thing. We'd just go in there for lunch and end up picking up an extra couple of things every time we went in there, because they were just like, oh, they're here again, let's show you some more. But after the first day with there, I think my mum and my aunt, between them, could have done my whole shopping in that like couple of hours, because they kept on oh, this is really lovely, Ritu, have this. I don't need them all, I really don't. No, but they're so nice, we can do this, you can do it. So they've gone really excited, and obviously everything is beautiful, I'm not going to deny it, but I was very aware that I don't need everything, but they really wanted to do this. So I kind of let mum and my aunt have their own excitement as well. And I showed him this picture, and I said, could you, do you know anywhere that could do something like this? And he looked at me and he went, you want it, I can do it. So I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, that's great.
So he went through, they showed us some fabrics and some colors. He said, what color do you want? What sort of thing do you want? And basically it's a lot of it's thread work and stone work that is on my outfit, my wedding outfit, rather than lots of golden embroidery and everything. And literally, so he chose, and he said, I've never made something specifically like this before. So he goes, don't you worry, this is going to be one of my big things. I'm going to have it. And literally, I think he said that over we were in India for about 2 or 3 weeks in total, but probably over 10 days and gosh, possibly some nights as well. He had his team of tailors and embroiderers working on this, and because I'd go there every day just to go and see how it was getting on. I don't know how many people, he said 25 different people working on all the different elements of the work before it even got stitched to create the actual thing. And I mean, he did a stunning job, at the end. I didn't want a big heavy scarf, because again, that's something that I was like, I can't do that, I can't do it. So it's a really delicate, beautiful net sort of scarf that he had created for me, and the actual outfit itself, it was just amazing. So what I wanted, it was there, made for me, for a fraction of the price as well. That's always you could have been spending thousands on it, and I think we paid about £300 for it, which is a big thing. So that, and then the other side of it is all that traditional element, which I do write about in the book, the different things that you need to take part in certain different customs that happen, and different events that happen through the wedding. And
it's not just one day, it's several.
No, it's a long time. It can take as long as you want, really. But one thing I did write about, which was quite a real experience in terms of the place, was there's somebody recommended this old gentleman who makes the wedding bangles. So when we went there, I included a very similar kind of scene for when Kiran goes to get her bangles, and this man was exactly like this, that, you know, he was renowned for making these. And in the old traditional days, these bangles, they were always made out of ivory, and obviously people don't use ivory now, so it's not. But the way he continued to create these bangles was done with as much love as if they were still ivory, and the way he formed, because you can buy them off the shelf everywhere, and what you find is you've got very sharp edges on each of the bangles. So when the ceremony happens, when your uncles are putting this, the girls, I always remember my cousins were having to have bottles of either oil or moisturizer there so that they could really like caked before, otherwise they'd have, you know, the skin scraped off their on, and that's like the night before their wedding. You know, you don't want to be going into your wedding with your, you know, scarred hands. But so, you know, this guy, he literally made sure that every single bangle had a rounded edge on the inside, as well as, you know, that it matched size wise. And he started every single appointment, he would find out which religion the bride is from, because pretty much most religions in the Asian side, you know, whether Hindu or Sikh, definitely they wear these wedding bangles. And he starts by writing like the relevant holy symbol at the top of the receipt. So he wrote Ik Onkar, which is our Sikh kind of symbol, at the top of the receipt, and then talked through what we wanted, and went through what kind of color. And I wanted to keep that as traditional as possible. I went for a lovely burgundy, which looked really nice with the outfit. But some girls go for like, it's literally the whole of their lower bangles. I didn't. I went for a simple one set on each side. And you know,
you still have your bangles?
I do. Yeah. You know, so then they made those, and then while we were there, my mum is very, and I think I've learned a lot about some of the traditions and the reasons why we do things, because my mum has always been really interested in it. And instead of just doing things because we've always done it, she always wants to know why do we do these, you know. I even found out about the bangles. I mean, yes, they signify you're a new bride, but they're also made so they're not too loose. They've got a slight tightness about them. You have pressure points around your wrist areas, which link to your reproductive system, and people want brides to get pregnant. So, you know, little things that you probably people don't even realize, but that was one of the reasons why they would have these tight bangles, and why it used to hurt to get them put on, because that was an element of. So my mum very much she was in her element in this shop, because he not only just did the bangles, but there was lots of other little paraphernalia and bits and bobs, beautiful decorated stools for certain parts, certain ceremonies, and different dishes, all sorts. So, you know, she not only kind of questioned him and really dug in deep in terms of what, why, where, and when, but then she's filled up a good suitcase with extra stuff.
Yeah, that's neat. Now, did you leave with your wedding clothes, or were they shipped? Oh, okay, so they were ready in the 2 to 3 weeks that you were there. That's amazing. Yeah.
Out there, you can almost get anything you want done. Equally, they can take as long as they want to do things. So unless you're on at them constantly, you know, you may not leave with it. But yeah, no, I left with everything. I don't think there was anything they had to ship. The only thing that was shipped to us were the wedding cards, because we had the wedding cards done out there. But yeah, I mean, every element of the trip was an experience, and a different type of experience. Then the shopping in Delhi is really different to shopping in Bombay. And then going to the Punjab, the difference in shopping in some area in Punjab as opposed to shopping in Delhi is really different. So it helped me to then, I mean, my experiences then helped me to add an extra layer to what I was writing about as well. But yeah, it was definitely a fun experience.
Oh, that's neat.